Okay, everyone, we are live and we have about 9 minutes before 9 o'clock. Allison, I can see you now.
Yes, I figured it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Although the computer says Dennis Skaggs, for the record, my name is Dr. Richard Bartlett.
Hello, Dr. Bartlett. I'm Scott Ramsey.
Good morning, Scott.
Morning, Dr. Bartlett. I'm Allison Haley, County Clerk. I'll be taking the minutes today.
I'm honored
Good morning,
to meet
Commissioner.
Good morning, Allison.
Hello,
Hi,
Allison.
Mitzi. Hi, Commissioner. I think you're muted, Mitzi.
Yes, I was muted and it was so profound what I said. I'm Mitzi Baker. I'm County Treasurer. It's so nice to meet you.
honored to meet you.
Hi, everyone.
I'm
Hey,
Mitzi.
Hey, Mitzi.
Hi, girl.
Andrew, how are you?
Doing great, Commissioner Ramsey. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. Any profound road issues to talk about?
We have a slew of road things to talk about today.
Glad to have you.
Andrew,
It's been fun.
I'll be counting on you to help me explain the right of way that I'm trying to get purchased for my one of my county roads.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain that to me too, Randy, because it's connected into 158 and
And 60?
but I thought it was like Bluebird Lane or something.
No, it's
Firewood.
It is
Briarwood, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is it's all a city deal.
Well, that's the complicated part about it, and I had to rely a whole lot on Robin Scott. He's the one that's working real closely with all the entities on that particular intersection.
The
They're wanting to
southwest corner of that intersection, that oblong intersection, is outside the city limits. See, ETJ, obviously, it's across the street from the city limit line, but it's county property or county land. So our piece in it is just procuring the right of way for the city and TxDOT to do their improvement to a major intersection in precinct 4. So,
Okay. All right. It's kind of hard the map I think that I saw was a little difficult to, especially if I was doing it on my phone to see it.
yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing all about it.
Jenny, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Vanna White, today.
Good morning, Vanna.
Looks like we have about 4 more minutes before we can start. Judge? Just a couple of just a question. I have 2 people, I guess the meeting credentials were forwarded to. Is anyone expecting someone else to join this meeting?
Not me.
Do you see Robin Donnelly anywhere?
No, Robin Kedzie and Roberta Solo Rio. And I'm not aware of, I don't know them, and so I'm not going to remove them or admit them.
Jenny, is Robin Donnelly going to be here this morning?
I mean, I believe so.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Luis.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
I'm showing about a minute. Do we want to try to get somebody to get a hold of Robin or?
I'll text him real quick.
Okay.
I will too.
Or go ahead, Jenny.
I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I've texted him. Oh, there he is. Okay, he's in. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning.
There you are.
Okay. Well, it's 9 o'clock. Today's Monday, May 27th, 2020. This meeting is now open. First item is to discuss COVID treatments by Dr. Richard Bartlett. Randy, would you want to introduce the doctor?
Yes, I'd be glad to. By way of introduction, I would just say that this COVID virus is so serious and so hard for some. I mean, one of my friends contacted me over the weekend that has it, and he started to take Dr. Bartlett's treatment. he said he felt better, but it's not out of the woods. This is a serious thing. And as our county commissioners court has always been very interested in the health of our employees, I thought it would be a good thing to do is to have all the knowledge we can have about, especially about early treatment. Once they get so sick they have to go to the hospital, our hospital is being under great stress with their own personnel who have COVID and with the ICU filling up. And if we can help keep people out of the hospital, keep them well, then that would be a wonderful thing for our employees. And I want all of our employees and their families to know about all the different options, and then they can weigh their options with their own doctor. And Dr. Bartlett's not trying to become the county doctor. He just has done something that's pretty marvelous. And I wanted our people to hear about it. So with that, Richard, I'll let you begin to speak.
Thank you, Randy. Well, I'm honored to be here speaking with you, and I want to compliment the Midland County Commissioners and Judge on having an infrastructure that has the purpose of meeting the needs of the county employees. And that is forward-thinking, very progressive, and it is a great thing to build on. And so I want to talk about, everybody's heard about the treatment protocol that I have. If you go to covidsilverbullet.com, that's where it outlines a paper that explains the treatment and the science behind it. But I'm getting calls from the UK, from Australia, from El Salvador, from Colombia, and people are employing this and saving their citizens' lives. And everyone's heard at this point of the ICU south of San Antonio that, unbeknownst to me, started using my protocol in their ICU and emptied their ICU in 48 hours. So that's at the end of the disease process, and still it's effective. But there's other hospitals in multiple states now that are already using this in their hospitals. But if you use it in early treatment, which is about your clinic and your employees, this is the winning strategy: early treatment. And that requires early detection. We've heard of false negatives and false positives with the testing. The testing is good when it's accurate, but you need to use symptomatology, is the term that Dr. Abraham coined. He's a US congressman that's also a physician in Louisiana. He's treated hundreds of COVID patients, and 100% have lived, zero mortality. Compare that with what's happening locally. But my protocol is already in the hands in the White House. It's in Congress, being talked about in Congress. This is something that's already being successful. And I'll just give you an example. I woke up the other morning to a phone call, and a fellow says, "Is this Dr. Bartlett?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "You saved my life." I said, "Who is this?" And he says, "I'm James Lloyd. I'm an attorney in California. And I tested positive for COVID. They gave me some antibiotics and an albuterol inhaler. I got sicker. They tried something else. I got sicker. I thought I was going to die Saturday, and I insisted on them giving me your treatment because I'm an attorney. I was able to tell them I really wanted it because it is FDA approved to help people breathe. COVID is a breathing problem, and a breathing treatment makes sense. He said after the first treatment, I could breathe. It's amazing. And so he has put a post on Facebook and given his story, and he is ecstatic that he's alive, if you'll look at what's happening in our city even. But there's hospitals that are using this. Another story is a gentleman that I spoke to last night. Last week, he called and said, "We're in Little Rock, Arkansas, and my wife is short of breath. She has chest pain. My doctors here are friends of mine, and they will not give anything because they said there's no early treatment approved," which is correct. There is no treatment approved, but if you look, people are getting treatments in the hospital here. So apparently no treatment is approved, but they're getting treatment. Early treatment with my protocol. I don't have a license in Arkansas. I said, if she's stable enough to come across the border to Texas, there are doctors who do telemedicine that are using my protocols. So I followed up last night with him, and he said she's doing great. She's on the mend. Thank you. He's very thankful. I'm telling you, people are coming from other states across the border for help. But we have providers in many states now that are using this protocol successfully. This is not a secret in Midland or Texas. This is not a secret in the United States. I've gotten calls and it's being used around the world now. It's not a new idea. It's not my solo idea. Doctors are coming to the same conclusion around the world. That's how come in Taiwan, where they're treating their citizens early, they're using early treatment and they're using inhaled steroids. They've had 7 people die in the last 7 months of this pandemic in a country of 24 million. Compare that to just Midland County. We need to catch up. We need to get on that path of early treatment and using an effective treatment strategy. The US Congressman Abraham said, I was using oral steroids, and then I came across what Dr. Bartlett's doing, and I'm doing both. And actually Dr. Bartlett's works better if someone has diabetes, because if you use oral steroids or IV steroids like they're using, the University of Oxford proved that corticosteroids improve mortality. There is no other treatment that's offered out there in any hospital, local or far and wide, that improves mortality, how many people die, except corticosteroids. And Oxford showed if you give IV steroids, they improve, less people die. And I'm talking about early treatment with a targeted approach, a respiratory breathing treatment for a breathing problem. When people come to, very often with COVID, people will say, I can't breathe. And it's pathetic that a doctor will not help them breathe. And now worldwide, doctors, not just in the United States, are enacting a winning strategy, and it's available, it's cheap, it's generic, it's FDA approved. It was
Y'all doing okay today?
Yes, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. It's Monday.
Right.
Come on right up here in the middle. We have rooms
You
today.
need them, Jeannie.
Okay. I do use the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. My ceremony is that appropriate for you.
There you go. Sorry, doctor.
That's okay. I believe in God and prayer. So I will say for $3, the cost of $3, a cup of, which is the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you can stay at home on your couch after seeing the provider at the Midland County Clinic, if it's an employee, and they can stay at home on their couch if they test positive for COVID and they have early symptoms, and get relief from their shortness of breath and their chest pain while they're watching Netflix. And so this is a no-brainer. It'll offload the pressure on the hospital. We're talking about pre-hospital care, outside of the hospital care, proactive. The American healthcare system is based on early detection and early treatment of every disease so far. That's been our winning strategy that has put us on the top. That's why the president of Russia flew to the United States for his surgery when he needed heart surgery years ago. That's why world leaders come to the United States, because we're the best at this. Early detection, early treatment of heart disease, stroke, cancer, and every infection has been our strategy until one disease, COVID, in January. So early treatment, your clinic that you have set up for your employees is a godsend. It's a winning strategy. You have done an excellent job of setting the infrastructure for early treatment. It'll not only save money, but it will save lives. It'll improve people's productivity. They'll be able to get back to work sooner. People recover quicker. We tell people take Tylenol just because we want them to get symptom relief, because we want to alleviate human suffering. How about if someone's short of breath and they're having trouble breathing, helping them breathe? If they feel like they're drowning, like James Lloyd said, I felt like I was drowning and now I can breathe. That sounds like something you would want for your employees. And so there's more than one way to treat this. I have a way that's working and saving lives, and I want you to be aware of it. Thank you, Randy, for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all and meet you.
Thank you so much. And then I would open up for any of our employees, elected officials, or department heads that are online right now. If you have any questions, now would be a good time to ask them from Dr. Bartlett.
Dr. Bartlett, this is Commissioner Scott Ramsey. And no disrespect intended on this statement. I don't think this was the proper forum for this. I know you're a wonderful doctor, but the county commissioner's court, I just don't think this was it. But with that said, I do have questions that were posed to me by a constituent, if you wouldn't mind answering a few of these. Is that okay?
Sure. And I don't know why it would be inappropriate if you have a clinic for your employees and you're involved in healthcare to some degree. I'm confused on why you would say it's not appropriate to talk about healthcare.
Well, we can get into that at a different time. So let's go to these questions. How many of your patients tested positive, actually took the test that you've treated?
Actually, we have multiple clinics that are using this protocol. Just one of them had 200 that have tested positive, 100% survival. That's just one of the many clinics. Next question.
Can you give me, what were the patients' ages?
I think the oldest was 81. I don't know how young the youngest was.
It just is a range of people.
Elderly to young.
Okay. Did any of them have any underlying conditions?
Thank you for that question. One of my first patients has 2 forms of lymphoma that she's still fighting, 2 kinds of blood cancer. And she's a grandmother. For 5 days, she was flat on her back in bed at home with a fever and extreme fatigue that you're hearing comes along with COVID. Could not get out of bed for 5 days. She had heard me on the radio and she found my phone number and called me and said, my granddaughter tested positive. I'm worried I have COVID. She went through the symptoms. I said, I'm sure you do. We started the treatment that night. She had her first good night's sleep in 5 days. She woke up in the morning fever-free. Over the weekend, she recovers. And on Monday, she teaches an 8-hour Skype day of teaching students music, her music lessons. And so that's just an example. She's still getting chemotherapy. She's still fighting 2 forms of lymphoma. She had radiation a month before I treated her. So I'm talking about the sickest of the sick are responding to this. Here's another example. Another grandmother, 5 days, fever, chills, body aches, fatigue. She's convinced she's going to die. She has had her chest cracked for 4-vessel bypass surgery. She's on blood pressure medicine for blood pressure. She's on medicine for thyroid disease. She gets the treatments and she can't believe that she can breathe, that her fever breaks. She's symptom free. We're talking about patients who become symptom free and then have 2 consecutive negatives. When you, that's the definition of a cure from COVID. And so I have story after story of happy endings.
That's wonderful. Next one, how many recovered at home and how many were hospitalized?
The vast majority are able to be treated at home. And that is a benefit even for the community so that the hospital is not overwhelmed, which was a concern that we were told in January. Also, with the situation of actually using this protocol in ICUs and emptying the ICU, it works from that direction as well as far as helping the community. And so very few have needed to be hospitalized temporarily. Some of the patients have, when talking to Dr. Abraham in Louisiana, some patients are actually contracting it in the hospital, unfortunately.
Okay, but did you answer the question about how many of the people that you treated were on respirators?
Wow. That's a good question because I focus on outpatient treatment. And so when the hospital in San Antonio started this protocol without me, they emptied their ICU. They said prior to using this protocol, they were having to intubate 50% of the patients that came in their ICU with COVID and transfer them to San Antonio. And they said, since that happened a month ago, their ICU is still empty. They're using this strategy in their clinic, in their community as a early treatment. And it's keeping people from even having to go to the ICU in the first place in that city. And so you're asking a very good question.
And the last one, it said, it's kind of lengthy. Did you have a control group who didn't receive the treatment to compare to the group that did receive the treatment? In other words, how can we know if the treatment cured the patients or if the disease simply ran its course?
That's an excellent question. So when you have patients who have, I'm an ER doctor, and actually this strategy came to me while I was working in the emergency room. So until COVID came, if someone had an oxygen saturation on room air below 90, if they were healthy before that, athletic, young, there was no confusion. They were going to be transferred to the hospital and admitted. But with COVID, one of my patients, his oxygen saturation was 86 at home on room air. And his story is on Facebook. I think it's got 130,000 views so far in Odessa. And he's totally recovered. And so we're having people who are deathly sick. I'm not a scientist. I'm not doing research on lab rats. And what's happening in Taiwan, where 7 people have died, is they're treating people and doing studies parallel to that. There are scientists doing the research parallel, but they're treating the patients with inhaled steroids. They're doing that in Japan, where they got 121 million citizens and less than 1,000 have died during this whole pandemic. They're doing that in South Korea, where they got 50 million citizens and less than 300 have died during this whole pandemic. Compare that to what's happening in Texas and in Midland County. And so there's a place for a doctor to treat his patients when they come in short of breath and they can't breathe. It's important for airway breathing circulation. We have a FDA approved medication that can be given in a strategic way that is immediately helping people that have COVID. And there's a place for scientists to do the research on the meantime that takes 6 months. Our loved ones and our citizens that are sick right now cannot wait 6 months. If they're sick right now with COVID, they cannot wait for someone to finish a study. Often, if they have the end result of a study, they'll stop it immediately, whether it's a good outcome or a bad outcome, and they'll make it public because that's the ethical thing to do. But we have studies in the UK, in Oxford, the NIH is doing a study that'll be done in October. France is doing a study. They haven't announced their findings yet. Spain says they're going to do a study. And Queensland University in Australia has announced they're going to study inhaled budesonide as a solution for COVID, a treatment for COVID. That's the exact treatment that I'm doing. And so that's 5 reputable organizations bigger than me, with more financing than me and more time than I have, that are studying this same treatment protocol of inhaled budesonide for COVID. And there's a reason why they've stumbled upon this. A little caveat, COVID can get in the eyes, in the conjunctiva. And so France studied budesonide in eye drops, and they found it effective. And so this is not a mystery. The whole world is now aware inhaled budesonide has great potential and is actually helpful, and they're studying it in 5 major institutions minus me. I'm not Oxford University. I'm a doctor treating my patients.
Well, Dr. Bartlett, I want to thank you for answering these questions, candidly and forthright. I really appreciate what you've just done. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have a question?
Anybody else? Dr. Bartlett, I'd like to.
Hey, Terry, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Dr. Bartlett, you mentioned that our clinic would know how to do this, Midland County Clinic. Are you aware of our particular providers, and do you know if they have actually aware of your treatment?
Randy, it's not a secret. I put it on covidsilverbullet.com. If they click on the case study, that's the 16-page white paper that I wrote that's actually at the publisher right now, and for a journal. And the last paragraph has the treatment protocol. And so COVID is not asthma. Budesonide has been used since '73 when it was patented as a treatment for asthma, but it's an anti-inflammatory breathing medicine. And COVID is a inflammatory, although asthma is an inflammatory disease, COVID is an inflammatory disease times 1,000. That's why this strategy works. The dosage is increased over asthma, and that's in the protocol. It's in the last paragraph. And so we've got 51 articles from reputable journals, medical journals, that are cited and are references at the bottom of the paper, so people can look that up. We've answered every question. Here's something that needs to be understood. There are hospitals using this in Texas and California, and other states now are looking at it. And every hospital has an isolation room with negative pressure. And that is because if we have Ebola or we have another disaster that comes in, we can put them in that room and it won't spread to other patients. And it won't. And we have a cart in front of that room. Everybody puts on universal precautions, and so the healthcare workers are safe. And so they can give these nebulizer breathing treatments in any hospital safely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. It kicked me off, so I had to try to get back on. Hope I'm back on now. Thank you, Dr. Bartlett. Was that it? Because I just did come back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, let me show you. Here's budesonide. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. This is $3 a treatment. That's pretty cheap compared to, and it's at home. And people get relief for $3 from something that can kill you. I think it's not a bad idea. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay,
Dr. Bartlett, you're welcome to stay and listen to some of our menus, but
I'm going to let you wise guys figure all this important stuff out.
I know you've got some important people to see.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Item number 3, discuss and take action on court minutes from July 13th and 16th, 2020. Allison? You're muted, Allison.
I'm trying. There we go. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to present the minutes from July 13th and the 16th for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4, discuss and take action on court fees for county and district clerk's office. Allison.
Yes, I'd like to present the court fees for June of 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
To approve.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Discuss and take action on line item transfers. Veronica?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
I do have some line item transfers to bring to your attention this morning. The first one is on page 5 of 32, line item transfer number 7306. It is moving money out of capital outlay infrastructure in road and bridge into the consulting engineering. It's $50,000 transfer money to cover done away invoices is the explanation being provided. I have another one to bring to your attention on page 12 of 32, line item transfer number 6405. And it is moving money out of the IT generator fuel, moving it over to emergency management generator fuel. Because I think we had, during budget hearings, had decided we wanted that generator fuel money to be moved over to emergency management. And
Correct.
so IT decided to go ahead and make that move for the current year. The next one I have to bring to your attention is on page 19 of 32, line item transfer number 7455. It is moving money out of Constable Precinct 4 over to IT. And it from education and training to equipment maintenance, $170. Explanation is for the repair of Constable Precinct 4 iPad mini screen. And so it is moving from one department to another, and that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. I have the last one I have to bring to your attention is on page 29 of 32, line item transfer number 7527. It is moving money out of the IT equipment and furnishings over to the purchasing capital outlay vehicles to move funds for arbitrator and cradle points, $20,662. Those are the transfers that I have to bring to your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Motion to approve all line item transfers.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6, discuss and take action on bills and wire transfers.
I do have some wire transfers for your consideration this morning. 3 of them are for county clerk, clerk account, deposited in general pooled cash account in error is the reason, $31, $16, and $124. I also have one for JP3 bond account, deposited in general pooled cash account in error, $1,022.60 is the wire transfer that I have for you. As far as exceptions to the bills, I did send over a listing with all the information I sent over for the bills. I have Air Compressor Solutions, IT Department, $2,234.70. I think it is for generator repairs, it looks like. Explanation provided says, please expense the attached invoice from 6215 equipment maintenance. After receiving the invoice, I learned that the existing PO we had with the vendor was used for other purposes. So therefore, there was no PO on that purchase. I have two invoices for Bosworth for the facilities department, one for $15,200 and the other for $3,430.05. One of them surpassed the PO, one of them was over the PO. The explanation on here does indicate this Bosworth invoice needs to be expensed. There was a PO written, but that PO got closed with another invoice. And the reason it got closed with another invoice is because the PO was for $8,466.98 and the previous invoice was for $8,466.98. Therefore, there was no more funds to expense this PO. Same with that second Bosworth purchase. I do have 3 invoices from Drain Master for IT department. One is for $560, the other $560, and the other $482.50. Again, his explanation on here is this Drain Master invoice needs to be expensed. There was a PO written, but that PO got closed with another invoice. Again, upon researching that PO, it got closed because there was no more funds available with those POs. So we do close the funds once there's no more funds available, and that's he needed to either increase that PO or write additional POs for these 3 purchases. I have an invoice for Galls, and that is for also facilities in the amount of $41.65. Stryon charger holder is the description on that, and it says the Galls invoice needs to be expensed. There was a PO written, but we had problems getting the correct item and purchase order ended up being closed. Again, there was a return and there was a purchase made and the PO got closed. There's no PO for this. So the last one I have is for Vector 7,187.06, Vector Fleet Management. There was an invoice for that amount for some repairs that were done. It says this Vector invoice needs to be expensed. There was no purchase order written because there was no quote received from Vector, is the explanation provided on that. Those are the exceptions. I do have an additional bill for your consideration, and it is just from A1 Sign Engravers, $3,750. It wasn't included in your other bills, just we got this one a little bit later because the amount on the invoice needed to be corrected. So those are the bills for today.
Motion to approve all bills and wire transfers with exceptions.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7 is discuss and take action authorizing the county judge to sign engagement letter for the audit of Midland County by Weaver.
Let me unmute again. Yes, sir. This is just the same letter that we get every year from our external auditors, Weaver. The amount is about $90,000, the cost of the external audit. This is something that is done annually. So it's here for your approval today.
I'll make the motion authorizing the county judge to sign engagement letter for the audit of Midland County by Weaver.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, take action acknowledging personnel memoranda.
Yes, sir. I just got through sending all of you guys a different page 2 than what you actually have in your backup. The print area on that form had been changed. And so about the last 9 or 10 lines on page 2, you did not get. So I just sent you guys all of that. What we're doing there is, here, the very next item on the agenda is to approve the comp time payout for those guys that have went over their limit according to policy. So that's the only thing that's a little bit out of the ordinary on the payroll change summary this time. But I just wanted you to be sure and look for that different page 2 that I sent you. And Allison, I sent that to you too for backup. So when the judge signs it, it should be good to go. Nothing else out of the ordinary there. Lots and lots of new hires because we listed all 15 of the part-time paramedics that were interested in the job.
So those 15 paramedics, they're going to rotate, right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay.
You know, they're only working a couple or 3 at a time, so.
Yes, this is Liz, and they're working 2 at a time.
I'll make the motion acknowledging the personnel memorandum.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item number 9, discuss and take paying down compensatory leave time accruals to the limit set out in personnel policy 6.08.
Yes, sir. In your backup, you should have a 1-page list of those that we're paying out that are over the limit. We pay out over the limit of 120 hours for law enforcement folks and over the limit of 60 hours for everybody else.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item number 10, discuss take action on treasurer's monthly report for April 2020.
Yes, sir. In your backup, I have April's report of cash and investments and fund balance ending last day of April.
Betsy, do you want us to get those signed? And if so, where should we go? Are you going to have it in the judge's office or your office?
The originals are in Jenny's office, so you can sign them there anytime and she'll notarize it for you.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve the treasurer's monthly report for April 2020.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Discuss item number 11, discuss and take action setting the employer contribution rate for TCDRS for 2021.
Yes, sir. Every year in July, before we finalize our budget, I bring our plan assessment through TCDRS to you guys. So let's see, the front page you're looking at is just our standardized format. Page 2 there is the plan assessment for the coming year that starts January 1. You can see there where if you'll go down the column there, our required rate is actually 11.21, but for quite a few years now, we've been paying in an elected rate of 13.50. That's to keep our liability and our assets closer together there. You can see if we keep paying in like that, our funded ratio this year is 87.9%. If you'll go to page 2, or the next page, that gives a bar graph of what final salary is after 30 years of service. If we keep paying in like we're paying, you get to about 83% of a final salary. If you'll go to the next page, page 4, I've written in there, you can see the required rate for every year since 2017, but what we have elected to pay in ever since 2017, and our funded ratio over the years. And then if you'll go to the very last page that I sent you, I highlighted some notes that TCDRS sent us with our plan assessment this time. After the huge drop in the market, most counties are expecting that their required rate really jumps because you have to stay funded at a certain amount at TCDRS. But since we have paid in more than is required every year now for quite a few years now, ours did not jump. We're staying pretty flat in what's required of us. And so I'd like to recommend to you guys that we just continue a steady pace and continue to pay in our elective rate of 13.5% of payroll and make no other changes.
Good job, Mitzi. I will make that motion that we keep the rate at 13.5% unless there's any discussion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 12, discuss and possibly take action on salaries for elected officials.
And I believe that this needs to be published in the paper tomorrow. And so I'll leave all that discussion up to you guys.
I've got a little short statement to make. It's just, do the elected officials deserve a raise? The answer to me is yes. Is this the time for the elected officials to receive those raises? The answer to me is no. It was a travesty how the elected officials were treated last year. Of over 600 county employees, these 20 hardworking individuals were given a one-time lump sum $2,000 stipend instead of across the board 8% raise every other county employee received. The stipend goes away this next budget year while the other employees continue to enjoy their 8% raise. There is nothing fair or equitable in this, and they have a right to be angry and frustrated. The response from the public to this proposition was mainly respectful and understanding of the good people they elected. That's the Midland that I have known since I moved here in the early 80s. However, there were some vile and hateful things said and posted to social media. That's a shame because these great people deserve our respect and our praise. The elected officials have proposed these raises don't have the power to give themselves a raise. That power sits with the commissioners. They are at our mercy. I want to state publicly how much of an honor it is to serve with such talented and dedicated individuals. Without their service, Midland County would not be the great place it is today. Thank you for all you do.
I also would
Sure,
like to say
appreciate
that I want to, first of all, I want to thank all of our elected officials. I agree with many of you who have emailed. I understand, everybody's very hardworking, dedicated, and everybody is deserving of a raise. I understand that we gave raises, the way we give raises is of concern. What occurred last year, of course, as we know, whenever we do elected official raises, those come out first. Then a few weeks later is when we do the rest of the employees. That's the reason why it turned out the way it was last year. Now, one thing that I want to say is I've talked to many constituents, and I'm saddened to hear about what's going on, of course, in their personal lives, right? From people losing their jobs, from people getting their hours cut, many of them losing health care. Then you've got people who have been quarantined for about 2 or 3 weeks, whatever the number is, who are not getting paid during that time. I cannot in good conscience be in favor of approving an 8% raise for anyone. In addition to this, I will be requesting that we stop all 4% raises for employees every other year. The reason we need to do that is because that 4% continues to increase more and more, and that's what's leaving the elected officials behind. I look forward to this upcoming budget year where we can actually sit down, tackle this issue, and actually make it work so we're not having to go through this again. I've had elected officials who said, I'm not, I don't want to ask for a raise for myself. Completely understand. And like I told some of those elected officials, now you know the position that we are in as commissioners. It is a very difficult decision. As many of you know, my decision does not come lightly. I took into consideration one of the biggest busts we've ever had in the history of Midland. And of course, as everybody knows, this pandemic that we're having, it's devastating many families. Right now is not the time to do that. People having to be quarantined for weeks at a time, people who are having to come up with extra money to pay those medical bills. That's very concerning to me. These are hard times that none of us ever experienced. These are hard times that we did not expect that we would be living through this year when we were looking at the raises last year. I do believe that we can correct this situation in another year, whether it be next year or the year after that. But right now, it is not the time. We've got to wait until Midland gets to a more normal place. I hope that elected officials understand my decision on not doing the 8% raise. This is something that I've been against since the time that we had our retreat. I know this is the third time that we've discussed it, and I stand firm in what I said a few months ago. I don't believe that this is the time to do an 8% increase. And for the public out there who is listening, if you have any questions, you can call my office. My number is 432-688-4803. Again, the number is 688-4803. My email address is lsanchez@mcounty.com. Again, lsanchez@mcounty.com. Thank you.
I do need to make you aware, I believe you already are, that if we, the one-time $2,000 deal that was done last year, if we take no action, that'll of course be removed, and every salary will be lowered that amount. The judge's salary would be lowered $500, everybody else $2,000 for the coming fiscal year. And that's what'll be posted in the paper.
So is that a total of 46,500, Mitzi? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'd have to add it up. Couldn't tell you that. Have not added it.
Because isn't it 23 elected officials at 2,000 apiece, or am I mistaken?
Just a minute.
I think we have 27 or 28, Louis, some last time.
Oh, that's right, 27. I wasn't including us.
It's just, there's 18 elected officials that got the $2,000 raise, and then one $500 raise that the county judge received. That's all we're talking about.
Mitzi, can you repeat that again? My computer keeps freezing up, so I didn't catch that part when you said the number of elected officials.
18.
Thank you.
18. So I'm not including the at-law judges in that number. I did not include the district attorney in that number. And I did not include any district judges, of course, because their salaries and their stipend that they get from Midland County, or their supplement they get from Midland County, is set by law.
And those $2,000 are also the same stipend that we received as commissioners, correct?
Yes, it was the same for everybody. What you guys had actually voted on was, I believe if you had been here over a year, the supplement was, adjustment was $2,000. If you had been here less than a year, the supplement was $500. So it was done one time. It was done on a one-time check. But of course, that amount adds to your annual salary. So if you remove that, everybody's annual salary will actually lower.
Thank you.
So I would, go ahead.
I was just going to say the stipend, the 2,000 stipend, from my perspective, coming from where I come from, was more of a one-time deal. It wasn't an addition to a salary. It was just a sharing of the good times we were experiencing last year, with no promise of it ever being part of your salary the following year. I'm hedging on calling it a bonus because I'm not allowed to call it a bonus. So it's called a wage adjustment, one-time salary adjustment. So that was last year was a great year. Wanted to share that with folks, but we here in the oil field know, here in the Permian Basin, we have good years, and then we have years like we're having right now that are absolutely horrible. So during the good times share, and the 8% was a commitment for eternity, literally, that is kind of hard this year because things are so tough. I'm not saying elected officials do not deserve a raise. My statement is this year's not the year to be considering either the stipend or the 8% raise.
So, Judge, you're requesting a reduction in salary of 2,000 for all elected officials?
I don't view it as a reduction. I view it last year as a one-time salary adjustment because times were good. This year, times aren't good. If you want to call it a reduction, you can. I don't see it that way. Last year it was a bonus. This year we don't have bonus money to give out.
Robin, have you got any further statement? I was going to make one unless you had, you were fixing to say something.
Pardon me?
Were you fixing to say something?
No, I'm just thinking about, I'm reluctant to pull the 2,000 from all the elected officials because it doesn't even come close to 8%, which we thought was about 180 or 130 something thousand for an 8% raise. This is 36,000, maybe 36,500 to maintain the salaries of all the electeds. I really believe that unless we cut salaries across the board, we shouldn't cut them for the electeds that are working so hard to keep the county going.
Well, let me make a little bit of a statement here. One of the things I'm dedicated, like the other commissioners have mentioned, to correcting the situation next year if possible. Let me tell you what I think is happening or going to happen. In my opinion, this virus is not going to go away, and flattening the curve will help on overburdens from hospitals, but it will just mean it just lasts forever. And then we got another one possibly coming down the pike next year from another SARS disease that China was working on. So my thoughts are, I want us to be dedicated to making sure that our employees and elected officials don't have to have cutbacks or layoffs. If we're able to maintain that, that's going to be pretty marvelous. Next year, if COVID stays around and the airlines quit traveling and oil stays low, many people are going to be on the verge of bankruptcy because we can't keep giving $1 trillion every 3 months. We're just creating money out of thin air in America. And so the reason I brought Dr. Bartlett in this morning is because, in my opinion, the only way for the world to recover is for there to be either a vaccine or an effective treatment. I'm very leery about a vaccine based on past experiences with vaccines in America. Maybe half the people take it, maybe half don't. Maybe there's severe problems. Maybe it treats the wrong strain of COVID. I won't go on and on about that because I'm not obviously a doctor. However, if there is an effective treatment and we can get everybody back to work and our kids back in the schoolroom, people traveling on airplanes again, the oil price goes back up, people start drilling in Midland, and we have a general worldwide recovery, then next year we can make a serious adjustment to elected officials, the inequity that happened over the last 5 years or 10 years with this anniversary raise thing. And so my goal is for us to correct the situation dramatically next year. And I'll even add one more piece of fire for the public who doesn't know. If you were to take a if you were to do a study of all of our elected officials and even most of our department heads, consider how the state is with the other 253 counties, you would find that our elected officials, judges, JPs, constables, you name it, sheriffs, have been state leaders. In the last 10 years, I bet half of our people led their organization statewide. And the reason they did is because they were doing a great job here in Midland County. The public doesn't know this. It doesn't get reported, but there's a reason. Well, I just can't brag enough or give enough credit to our elected officials and our department heads that we have appointed. And so that's going to be foremost in my thoughts. If we can have a recovery based on an effective treatment and we get back to normalcy, then we definitely need to reward and, all of our county employees, but especially make adjustments to our elected officials. And so those are just some of my thoughts.
Randy, one of the things that Commissioner Sanchez suggested in tolling the anniversary raises, that saves us $500,000 this year if we do that. Right, Mitzi? Is that about right? And so...
You're muted, Mitzi. Can you unmute yourself and repeat that?
Yes, the answer was yes.
So you're saving $500,000. You're not increasing the salaries at all throughout the county by doing that. And I would agree with that because that's $500,000 we don't have to come up with. The question comes to the effect of we're not increasing salaries across the board, even if we do the stipends. So what I would like to do in the anticipation that we're going to do away with the anniversary raises the next 2 years, is I'd like to propose that we maintain the stipends except for the commissioner's court, and use that, have it as a stipends for 1 more year until we can figure out what to do with salaries, because you're going to save $500,000 in foregoing the anniversary raises. So that would be my motion, to maintain the stipends and the current salaries for the electeds and reduce the courts by their stipends.
Robin, that sounds good. But I do understand that it was a one-time stipend. What's to say that it doesn't happen again next year?
Well, if our tax revenue comes in next year and it doesn't meet, well, we still have the $500,000. The stipends goes away. Carr Ingram told us when we had that discussion about oil prices several years ago that this is probably a 3-year cycle. We'll be able to maintain next year. It's really in 2022 that cycle is going to really downturn, and we'll really see that we'll have to reduce things if this thing continues at $40 a barrel. So, it's one of those things that's not a permanent raise. It's just a temporary. And that's what my thought process is that we can make it through next year by doing away with the anniversary raises and saving $500,000. And then in 2022, we'll reappraise everything and either make reductions countywide in salaries, or, we'll have to figure out some other way to continue the way that the county's going.
So your motion would be contingent upon us doing away with the anniversary raises. Is that correct?
That's correct. is that maintains salaries except for ours countywide. The same dollars are going out the door that went out last year. There's no change.
Actually, there'd be less since you've restricted it to county electeds other than the court.
That's correct.
Robin, I understand your position. I just wanted to mention one other thing. In the
Sure.
past, when we've done a stipend in Midland County, usually the next year it does go away. So this is
Well,
not
you know,
something new. I just
when we
wanted to
did
make sure I
this
mentioned
with
that.
Constable Hall, when he was doing that collections, it was renewed and renewed and renewed as long as he was doing the collections.
Right, but I'm not talking about that specifically. I'm specifically talking about when in the past we have done a stipend, whether it be for elected officials or for everybody across the board, and the following year it went away. So it wouldn't be the first time that it would occur. That's been my experience in the last 12 years. I think we did it one time. I don't remember if it was in 2009 or in 2010.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to just interject a little bit more. I'm very proud of all the department heads and the elected officials in asking and dealing with the budget for this upcoming year. I requested, because of the downturn we're seeing in the collection of sales tax and the expected downturn we're going to see the year after this next one in, or the possible downturn in property values and the revenues generated there. I requested a 15% operational cut in all departments. I am so proud of everybody that reached that. I had a few people that went over it, and I had a few people that their budgets were so small they couldn't quite get there, but they did do what they could. So we've asked them to do that. Then we're also telling folks we're going to do away with the 4% automatic raise, but we're going to give electeds a raise. The optics there to not only the employees, but all the folks paying taxes in Midland County just aren't there for me. So that's my position. Again, I'm not saying electeds don't deserve it. Just nobody could have projected what this year was going to do. It's horrible. We just need to wait for a better year.
I guess we can go on. There's no second for my motion, so go to the next item.
Okay. Item 13, discuss and take action on reappointment of Barbara Yarborough to the Permia Care Board of Trustees.
I'd make the motion that we reappoint Barbara Yarborough to the Permanent Care Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 14, discuss and take action authorizing the county judge to sign Raul Gonzalez contract for project literacy.
Yes, gentlemen, we have Megan Buck with the library online.
Okay.
Good morning.
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 Yes, so Raul Gonzalez is a children's author, and we will bring him in virtually for Project Literacy this year. He will be our headlining author.
Can you kind of give us an idea of how this virtual meeting is going to take place?
Yes, I can do that to the best of my ability. We're still kind of learning as we go. But our plan is that all the first graders in the district will still receive the book. Volunteers will not be able to go into classrooms to read to the children this year, so we will do recordings of volunteers that we can play for the children. And then we've asked Mr. Gonzalez if he will do a recording for the first graders to take the place of the kickoff day. So he will do that. And then on the next day, he will actually do a live Zoom meeting with all of the second grade classes in the district.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I do have a question, Megan. Whenever you give out the books, because of what's going on. How are you going to do that? Do you send them to the schools, then the parents come and pick them up? Will we be distributing them from the various Midland County public libraries? What's the logistics on that?
So we are still working out the logistics of that, and obviously it will depend on what MISD is doing at that time. So we can either deliver it to the schools, which is what we usually do, or we can have people come pick up from the library.
Thank you.
Well, I'd make the motion that we authorize county judge to sign the Royal Gonzalez contract for Project Literacy.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 15, discuss take action authorizing the county judge to sign Jonathan Exayer contract for Project Literacy.
Yes, this is another author that we are bringing in virtually. He is he's a little bit older author, young adult, older elementary. So he will also be doing a Zoom with the second grade classrooms and possibly some of the older grades. We're still kind of talking to the district about that.
And it's going to work the same way as the one with Raul Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
Megan, would you sound out or what is his last name? How is it pronounced?
I'll give it my best shot. I think it's Oxier.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve Jonathan Oxier for the Project Literacy for the county judge to sign.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 16, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign welcome home contract.
Yes, this is a service that the library uses to advertise and raise awareness for our programs and services. And what Welcome Home does is they greet every new homeowner in Midland with a basket, and included in that basket is information about different businesses and nonprofits in town. So this is something that we've been a part of for several years and would like to continue.
I'd make the motion that we authorize county judge to sign the welcome home contract.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item 17, acknowledge summary of all collections for June 2020.
Karen, are you there?
I'm going to move on to 18 and try catching Karen in a second. Item 18, discuss and take action on bond renewals for Ruben Mata and Jessica Buchanan.
Hi. These are bond renewals that have come, that will be expiring as of August 14th or August 13th, I apologize. And so the fee is $93 for Jessica Buchanan, who is the administrative assistant for Road and Bridge. The bond is for $1,000. And we also have a bond renewal for Ruben Mata, also in the fee of $93 in the amount of $1,000, it will expire on August 13th. And I am requesting for the court to give permission to pay these fees and renew both two additional bonds for $1,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I'm going to try Karen again. Okay, item 19, discuss take action on use of Horseshoe as a voting site for the November election.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I did go out and look at the Horseshoe for the possible use for a voting site in November. I spoke with Mr. Kelly, And he said that he did have the backstage available in November. Right now, that was all that he had. I think that I could get 20 machines in there. Right now, my concern is with social distancing. Just an example, I would normally put 15 machines in the elections office. With social distancing, I can put 8. And so that means I'm going to have a lot fewer machines in the different locations. And so I'm just asking for that reason to be able to use whatever is available in November.
I think it's a great idea to be able to use that. So you're not going to, you're going to be taking machines obviously from the annex to, and other sites like Manor Park that we have lost and put them out there. Is that what you're doing?
Right. We're going to try to have to replace Manor Park. I'm not wanting to substitute anything with the Horseshoe. It's just, I feel like it's a place that I could actually get more people in, because by the time you social distance the machines and you add the number of workers in there, that limits the number of voters that we can allow in the location. And in November, it's going to be a very long ballot, which I figure is going to take around 15 minutes per voter to go through that. So we need a place that can just hold more people, more machines.
Okay, so you're not going to hold voting at the annex. Is that correct?
No, we will, but I will have fewer machines.
Okay, how are you going to get that out, advertised to the public? Because, you know, obviously that's one of the most sought after places on elections day to go vote.
Absolutely. And that will be the challenge, is to let everyone know that it's out there, and we will have to do some advertising. And just if we end up having to use backstage, we'll have to have some flags and things just to direct people back there. The chance that we might be able to use the educational building, possibly. Mr. Kennedy said that right now it's booked, but if it fell through, we could move that. That would be more ideal, just because it's the front of the building. Again, we're not wanting to take away from any location that we already have. I want this in addition to, that might free up the lines at some of the other locations.
Carolyn, and we're talking just specifically election day, right? You're not talking about early voting.
Absolutely, just election day.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make the motion to allow the use of the Horseshoe as a voting site for the November election.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. If anything else happens, I'll call you guys. Thank you.
Item number 20, discuss take action ratifying purchase order agreement with ES&S.
Yes, this is a purchase order for curbside carts that will be purchased with the HavaCare grants. And I just need the signature. I did not understand that I could not sign it, and did, and had to call and beg forgiveness. So I just need that signature ratified so that I can get these ordered and hopefully have them by the November election.
So,
Carolyn, I have a question.
Hold on. Can you explain to me how this works? I mean, are you actually going out with a cart, going to someone's car, and they're voting from there? Is that what's happening?
Yes, sir. Now what we do for curbside, they have to be carried out there and held by the worker. And the machines are very heavy. Mm-hmm. This way, the carts actually have a privacy screen around them. It can be rolled up to the car. The voter can make their selection and vote their ballot.
And they're stable. I'm just worried about tearing up those new machines. I mean, are they stable? They're secure? You know, because you got to kind of go off a curb over thresholds, all this other stuff. That's kind of concerning.
Yes, sir. They're as stable as I think any of them are going to be. The only other option, what we use here at the annex, is we have like just a big cart that we roll it out on. But you know, most of our workers are over 65 plus, and so those heavy machines, they could be dropped. So
Carolyn, this is only for those who are 65 and over, correct?
no, curbside, if you're disabled for any reason and you cannot get in the voting place on your own, then you're eligible. Now, we don't do it for just anybody, but you know, if you have a broken leg and you can't get out, if you're sick and you can't get out, then you can vote curbside.
Thank you. I'll make that motion that we ratify the purchase order agreement with ES&S.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you.
Judge, we have Karen on the line. I called her and I think we can have better luck with her now if you want to go back to her.
Okay, I'll recall item number 17. And Karen, it looks like you're muted. Acknowledge summary of all collections for June 2020.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I could see and hear y'all, but y'all couldn't hear me. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. As you can see, we're a little bit down in really mostly just the motor vehicle end of it, but overall we're up 15.51%. So.
Aaron, can you tell me what the highway fees, what exactly is that?
The highway fee. I've got Mary Helen in here with me too. No, here's highway fees here. Yeah, I mean, I get this exactly from right here, so it's the highway fees right here. Louise, to answer your question, I can't right now. I'd have to go back. There's certain fees associated with different items in the motor vehicle, and I would have to go back and look and see exactly what those highway fees are for, if you're wondering why they're down. But I can certainly do that, but I don't have that information in front of me right now.
Okay.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Karen, can you send me an email with that information?
I sure will, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Item 21, discuss take action on jail roof updates. Justin, are you muted? Hey, Justin.
I'm trying to unmute him.
Do they unmute themselves or do you
They
have to?
can, but I can as well.
Oh, okay.
He must be away from his, I don't know.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta get close to my computer. So in the room with me, I've got Ken Colson, our risk manager, and James with Carson Roofing, who is one of the individuals that provided an estimate or a quote for the repair of the roof. First, I want to start off with Ken was able to get with the prior insurance company, and they've agreed, instead of making us get the roof completed by August 9th, as long as we have a signed contract for the repairs and we provide them with a written release saying that we will not file any more claims with them for the rest of our 2-year period, which that period ends October 1 of this year. So we're just a couple of months away with that. We did speak with Russell, who was in agreement that'd probably be the best way to go. And that way we can get the most money from the insurance company for the repair. So I'm not sure. I guess the first thing we need to talk about is that written waiver. We're waiting on the insurance company to send us the waiver to let Russell look at the final product, but he's in agreement that would be the best route to go on that end.
I know we were discussing the amount last time. Justin, can you remind me of what that amount was that the insurance is going to pay?
For the replacement, which would be the most amount we could get from them, is $305,659. And then we've also got the lightning strike, which occurred just before that. We've got $465,610 coming for that. So you add those two checks together, that's $771,269 for the total repair and replacement of that part of the roof. And Parsons has sent us a bid for $36.
Wow.
That's how much their bid for the roof is. And that's with the metal roof. And I believe one of you guys was asking for the warranty. I think it's 25-year for the metal roof. 20-year warranty for the metal roof. Finish on that.
Thanks, Justin.
It's like I said, I guess the two things we need.
Russ, I was just going to ask, was there anything on that stuff that Justin gave you that was a concern about signing that waiver that we couldn't make another claim for the rest of the year?
Commissioner, the concern obviously is that if there is some claim that we are unaware of that arises within that time period, that we would be giving up that right. So in my conversations with Justin and Ken, of course, it's impossible to say that there isn't something you don't know about, right. But we don't have any reason to think there are any other claims out there that could arise. I think this one was a little bit of a unique situation, and hopefully we know enough about what's going on with all of our property that we would know if there was any other potential claim. So along with them not thinking there are any other claims, it would be a short time period within which we would have to make a claim on the insurance policy. So it seems like the odds that something would arise that we would give up is very small, but that is a risk. So you just have to weigh that risk against the extra amount that you get by doing it this way.
What you're talking about is just specifically for this, for the hail and the lightning strike, has nothing to do with anything else. Like, for example, God forbid that there's a fire that breaks out, right? They would cover that. This is just specifically for this one thing. Am I correct?
This is, if a fire broke out now, it would be covered under our current policy. Remember, this is a company that we don't that doesn't insure us anymore. So this was a policy that ended about 2 years ago. So it would have to be a claim that's existed for almost 2 years, and we just somehow didn't know about. So that seems like a very small chance, but it's certainly possible.
Thank you, sir.
I may address something in regards to the funding of this. I know we moved $424,000 out of that healthcare facility into the risk management claims. The other thing that I did notice is we still have $49,606.22 available of the jail bond capital project fund. Jail bond money, we still have $49,606. I thought we could go ahead and use up. Of course, I'd have to get the sheriff's approval on that. But I just wanted to let the court know that, actually, I don't need the sheriff's approval. If the court approves, we can go ahead and use that bond money.
Should we make sure that he does not have, it tagged for something else that we don't know about? And
Definitely.
I don't mind doing that. Let's just wait to talk to him first and then.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it doesn't need his approval, but yes, if he has something else planned for it, the funds aren't currently encumbered. I just wanted to go ahead and make you aware that those funds are available, and we pretty much need to use up those funds as quickly as possible. So, I mean, we've had them there for quite some time, since
Veronica,
2000.
on the $400,000 from the mental health facility, now that we're going to be receiving the 771,269, will that money go back into the mental health facility, or are we still going to use that money, and then where's the rest of it go?
Yeah, that money comes out of a claim so it goes into the risk management fund.
Okay.
But we'd have to rebudget that money if we want to use it. So that goes into a revenue account, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So what's the decision to be made on this? Since we only need the $711,036 for the bid, right? And we're going to receive $771,269 from the insurance company. So what decision are we making on this?
I think the first decision we need to make is, I guess, authorize the judge to sign that waiver once we finally get it in, granted Russell's approval. That's the first step, because in order to get the full replacement value, we have to meet the two conditions: have the waiver signed and have a contract for repair signed. So like I said, we've got one bid right now from Parsons Roofing for that $711,000. If we want to go with that, or if we want to wait to get a couple more bids in, that's up to the court. But those are the two things we need to get done before August 9th.
Well, I would make the motion that we, subject to Russell's approval, that we sign the release of claims for the prior insurance company.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Do we need to, or are we able to take up the question of the bid? Russell, are we able to accept this one bid that's been proposed?
I'm trying to remember the discussion we had the other day about this, Justin. Was this on one of the state contracts?
Yes, this is on text buy.
Yes, so we
yes,
can judge.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Was that a question we need to decide today, or are we able to on this agenda listing?
We can go ahead and we can take that action today, Judge.
Okay.
I would make the motion that we accept the bid by Parsons for the metal roof for the jail.
Second.
For $711.
Yes, would you like the dollar amount in the motion?
Can do. That's what the bid is. I would make the motion that we accept the bid of $711,036 for repair or replacement of the jail roof.
Now, I'll second that amended motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 22, discuss take action on a burn ban.
Okay. With the burn ban, as y'all, I've sent out that email to you gentlemen showing our current status. As of today, our county average is 623 of the 575. The Fed has actually got us under severe drought conditions, which actually calls for burn bans. The paperwork I sent in is for 90 days. That's the maximum we can do burn bans at 90-day increments. We can do less than that if that's what y'all decide. But the good thing with the burn bans, like disaster declarations, we can always come back and end it early if need be. But we definitely need to start looking at, if not implementing one today.
Well, as dry as it is right now, Justin, you mentioned that we're looking at 575, but in Midland, it's 623 right now, right?
Yes, sir. The 575 is kind of the go-to average for starting when we start looking at initiating burn bans as far as our dryness. And as of today, we're at 623. With the past several weeks of being over 100-degree, very low humidity and no moisture, it's just going to continue to rise until we get some moisture.
Well, it looks like we're going to be at 100 degrees here within the next week again. But if we do this and let it run its course, the 90-day burn ban would be effective from now up until, let's say, October 27th.
I believe so. I'd have to look at my paperwork. Yes, sir, that sounds about right.
Say that again, Commissioner? October 25th?
Yes, sir. That's in the order.
Well, now I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Hold on just a second, Luis.
Go ahead.
Justin, how this is, I guess, your first year at this. How will you and your group enforce this burn ban?
Well, with the burn ban, it makes it a Class C misdemeanor to burn basically anything outdoors. The only thing this won't affect is fireworks, because fireworks is done under a different type of order. But any type of outdoor burning will be illegal. So it'll be up to the sheriff's department, myself, any police officer can enforce this. So we're here to help in any ways necessary to enforce it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then again, Justin, this can be rescinded at any time, this order, if things were to change drastically in the next whenever?
Yes, sir. State law allows, like I said, up to the 90 days. And if we get out of drought conditions by then, we can definitely rescind it. Or if we need be, we can come back and renew it for another length of period of time. But like I said, it's completely up to each commissioner's court in all 254 counties to basically proceed how they want on a burn ban. But yes, so we can come back and rescind it at any time. And I'll keep everyone updated if it does go up or down.
Okay. All right.
One of the good things I would say for us, at least, is the hurricane season is going to be pretty active. I know that's bad for the coast, but if the hurricanes come in and continue kind of at a northwesterly direction, that'll send rain our way.
I'll make that motion that we go ahead and get this burn ban on effective today, and it will be running according to the order up until October 25th, 2020, unless we come back and make a change.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Justin.
Hey, Judge, if I may, Ken was bringing up, do we need to make a motion to have you sign the contract with Parsons Roofing, or is that covered in that last motion on the last item?
Russell, can you help with that one?
I was sorry, Judge. I was making sure I was unmuted. Yeah, that's covered in the last item. We don't need to an additional motion for that.
Good deal. Just want to make sure we're covered.
All right, thanks. Item 23, discuss take action correcting duplicated budget amendment for the sheriff's office. Benny?
Good morning. How are you, gentlemen?
Good morning.
This was a $900 donation that was made back in December. And I think there was some change in the budgetary line item, so it was duplicated. We just need to get the court's approval to cancel this one. I'd love to have the money twice, but that's not how it worked out.
I'll make the motion correcting the duplicate budget amendment for the sheriff's office of $900.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 24, discuss take action correcting budget amendment for the DOJ COVID grant award.
Yes, this grant originally was documented at 46,511. The true number is actually 46,011. $100 difference, and we just want to get it into the Commissioner's Court approval for the $500 difference.
Make the motion to correct the budget amendment for the DOJ COVID grant award to show the correct amount.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 25, acknowledge the monthly fees for detention.
Yes, sir. The monthly fee for the detention collected for the month of June were $1,215.
Motion to acknowledge the monthly fees for detention.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Thanks. Item 26, discuss take action on cancellation of the Vector Fleet Maintenance Contract.
Yes, sir. I think everyone's in agreement to cancel this contract and bring the fleet maintenance in-house. And I would like to follow the contract and send a 90-day notice to Vector.
I would make the motion to send the 90-day notice of cancellation to Vector.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Item 27, discuss and take action on purchase of desk for library.
This was not a budgeted item, but the library does have the funds for this purchase. We have a quote for an additional desk from Library Interiors using the Choice Partners Cooperative Purchasing Contract and the amount of $10,873.20.
That is really one expensive desk. What's it used for?
It's one of the circulation desks. They're actually gonna put it in the adult services section, I believe.
Okay, so it's not like an office desk that
No, not at all.
it has other bells and whistles on it that can handle the $10,000 price tag.
Yeah, it's one of the big desks.
And is it, Christy, does this have shields and all that stuff on it?
I'm sorry, Shields?
The COVID-19 stuff?
No, this is just the desk. This does not have any of the PPE stuff on it.
Are they going to provide for that?
I believe facilities has done the PPE stuff for the library. I'm not real sure. I don't know if Debbie Garza is on the line to answer that or not.
I don't think so.
I don't see her.
She would either have to get that or she would get with facilities to get that taken care of.
I know in the past when we talked about, I'm sorry, Robin, I just want to make this, pose this question here. The last time that we talked about PPE and facilities having the material to be able to do that, my understanding is that they don't have any, unless that's changed. I think they're, Tim, are you on? Can you hear us? I don't know if you're on the call.
He's not on that I see.
Okay.
Right, Jenny?
It's because I see FAC 101. I didn't know that was.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, I got unmuted. We do have we've been providing the Lexan protection for all the departments, and we have it. We continue to order it to keep it on hand, and we kind of make them as they come up. Yes, it may take us a little while to get it made because we have a large list, but we're chewing our way through all of it. But we can continue to get the Lexan. So so far the product isn't a problem. It's they've evidently found a distributor they can get it from pretty quickly.
Do you have any of it available right now for this desk?
Well, we have 4 or 5 sheets. I'm not sure whether it's been spoken for or not, but we order it and it takes about 7 days to come in. I'm sure we'll have it long before the desk gets here because the desk will take quite a while to get here.
All righty. Thanks, sir.
I'll make a motion to purchase the desk for the library.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank y'all. Item
Thanks, Tim.
28, discuss take action on change order for paving project County Road 1232.
Yes, sir. We received notification from Jones Brothers that they had to do potholing between Antelope Trail and South County Road 1160. And the amount for that was $42,500.
Andrew, you want to explain?
Yeah, so that's the contract we're working on now from the Loop 250 extension. It ends at County Road 140. From that point, south and east to 1160, so several miles of road, is littered with crossings. And that $40,000 is 200 or 300 pothole survey and fill locations in order to properly design and construct that road. You may remember we've talked about some of this in the past. In the future, that effort will be done earlier in the process in the pre-construction management phase with Dunaway. This one we were a little bit behind on, so it was done with Jones as they were mobilizing. So that, and hence that's why it's a Jones change order rather than a pre-construction services effort.
I might mention that these contracts for construction of roads are evolving. And originally, when we did the original paving contract in 2013, all of this was included in the pavement. I mean, in that contract. As we've expanded our construction throughout the county, it's changed. Like on County Road 127, we had a problem with AT&T and Encore on adjusting utilities there and lowering lines and that kind of stuff. Now we had a discussion that we thought originally the contracts would cover utility adjustments, potholing, coverage of pipelines and things like that. And as this thing evolves, we're finding that we have to do our own driveways, our own potholing, our own utility adjustments before we get to the contract phase. So now when we get to contract phase, all of this will have to be done prior to the contract starting. Did I get that right, Andrew?
Yes, and so to summarize, I mean, a little bit of the understanding of the county in general as we were letting out contracts for bid was that once the contractor mobilized, they take care of the utilities. And under a unit price contract, that's really just not appropriate. It's public and private utilities that we need to address prior to construction. And part of that is understanding where those utilities are at. And that's what this effort was to do, is to go investigate. This was a big one because it's such a large piece of road with a lot of railroad commission utility underground.
This area down here is full of pipelines, and we had to do the potholing to make certain that the designs were correct. I would make the motion that we approve the $42,500 change order on the paving project for County Road 1232.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Randy, were you there? I didn't see or hear you. Okay. Well, I believe we got a vote from 4, but not Randy. Does that help you, Allison?
Yes, sir. I'll make note of that.
Okay, thanks. Item number 29, discuss take action on concrete bases for light poles at Horseshoe Backstage parking lot.
Yes, sir. Previously, the court approved moving 2 light poles from the front west parking lot to the backstage VIP parking lot. The quote that we received from the electric company did not provide for the concrete bases of these light poles to be set. We did receive a quote from Cooper Construction in the amount of $7,970. We do not have the funds for this purchase, therefore the court will need to provide the funds from contingency. But we do need the concrete bases to set the light poles.
There's a possibility, Veronica, you can correct me. We've got in the horseshoe budget $250,000 for an electronic scoreboard. Is it possible to use the funds, the $7,000 or $8,000 out of it?
We'd have to do a transfer to.
Rather do that than take it out of contingency.
Okay.
So I'll make the motion to build the concrete bases or set the concrete bases for light pole, the horseshoe backstage parking lot.
Transfer the funds from.
Transferring the funds from the scoreboard in the amount of $7,970.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign? Aye. Item number 30, discuss take action on Talon LPE disinfecting county department's office building as needed.
Yes, sir. Talon LPE has been disinfecting various departments and offices and buildings as we need them. Right now, we have spent $49,895. And because our times are so unknown that when we might need them, I would like the court's permission to be able to use Talon to disinfect the departments and buildings as needed. But in order to go over that $50,000 limit, I need the court to declare the future purchases from Talon as discretionary exemptions per Texas Local Government Code 262.024.2, an item necessary to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the residents of the county.
Well, I'd make.
See, I've got a question. Whenever you say we would use them whenever it's necessary, who decides that? Who decides when they would be, when Talon would be necessary to go into a department to do that cleaning? Who makes that decision?
That's usually been based on the department head or elected official and Tim. I believe that we've used them anywhere an employee has become diagnosed with COVID.
Okay.
And I believe that's their basis on the necessity of it.
Okay, thank you.
I'd make the motion that the court declares any future disinfectant procurements as discretionary exemption per Texas Local Government Code 262.024, subparagraph 2, and as an item to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the residents of the county.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 31, discuss take action purchasing consulting services with Petro Communications for Sheriff's Office radio project.
Hi, good morning. This is Mike from IT.
Good morning.
Mike with Petro has proven to be a subject matter expert as well as a great advocate for the county, which is the reason we're looking to bring him on as a consultant for the SO radio project. The quote he provided represents a fixed price for unlimited consulting, and that is for the life of the project. His proposal, it's on a state contract, and we do have funds available in the project for its purchase.
Well, I think Mike's input on this project has been very valuable, and I think we'll save a lot of money through his consulting on this, as well as progress it quite quickly. I might mention that I have asked Road and Bridge to give us a quote on doing the pad construction on these things, and I think that that would be beneficial. And I think and Mike and Motorola are meeting this morning, I believe, to start negotiating the revision of the contract. So I would make the motion that we create a consulting contract with Petro Communications for the SO radio project.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 32. Thanks, Mike. Item 32, discuss take action moving free mulch from Ranchland Country Club to the Horseshoe.
Yeah, a month or so ago, I was approached by one of the guys out at Ranchland, and they had this huge pile of mulch that they need to get rid of, and it said that they would donate it to us. And so I've talked to Tim and facilities and Ruben about moving it. So Tim, can you take it from there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ruben went out and looked and measured the pile, and he estimates there's over 700 yards of mulch. I called 3 different landscaping companies and got a price for mulch per yard in Midland, and the cheapest was $54 a yard bulk. That adds up to over $37,000 worth of mulch. I looked at the mulch. It's not brand new, but it's good mulch. It's a wood chip mulch, and Ruben gave us a price of find the paperwork here. $5,046 to move it. I have more than enough money in my landscaping fee to move it, and we'll store it out at the Horseshoe, and we can use it at the courthouse, and we have a place at Centennial that needs mulch. Those are the only 2 that pop in my head that have any gardens left, but the Horseshoe has quite a few raised flower beds that we mulch all the time, and we pay for it. So this would be a good savings if we can get it.
Tim, is this mulch already treated, or will it be treated for like critters or other invasive species that could be, I just want to make sure that we don't take this mulch, take it to parts of the county, and then within the mulch, you've got critters in there that shouldn't be in there?
I have no clue whether it's pre-treated or not, but I'm sure that Ranchland bought it commercially, so it probably came treated. I don't know how old it is.
Can we find that out, if you don't mind, to see if it's been treated or not? I mean, it would just be a simple question. I just want to make sure that if we do move that mulch somewhere else, it doesn't have stuff that it shouldn't have in there.
Yeah, I'll have to call and ask that question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do we want to approve getting it if it have a positive result, that way we can go ahead and finish, or do you want to bring it back to court?
Well, I take there is a sort of a timeline on this deal, so I'll make the motion moving the free mulch from Ranchland Country Club to the Horseshoe, subject to confirming that it was pre-treated.
Second.
Commissioner, if I can interrupt, we would also need a motion accepting the donation before we move it.
Can we do that today?
Yeah, I'm fine with doing that on this item.
Russell, do you mind if we vote on this first item that Commissioner Ramsey did and then go back to the second one?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify that we would need to accept it also.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion and a second to move it? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Is there another motion?
Well, before we do that, I might say I'm not a mulch expert, but I don't believe there's even for this kind of mulch, I don't even think there is a question of treatment. So if you find out that it hasn't been treated, but that's the way all mulch is, I'm fine with that. If it needs to be treated though, obviously what Louise said matters, but I'm not familiar with that kind of mulch being treated in the mulch that I've used, if it's wood chips. But so Scott, you may find out that they say, well, no, we didn't treat it, but no one treats it. So I want to be sure that we go ahead and get that mulch here in case that possibility exists as well.
So how do you suggest we go about this?
I mean, so you've already said it. I think we accomplished what we need to accomplish in that motion.
Okay.
And I'll make that second motion that we accept the donation of this item.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
Scott, good job. Way to go looking into stuff like that.
Thank you.
Item 33, discuss, take action authorizing county judge to sign resolution and agreement accepting CTIF monies designated to Midland County.
Yes, sir. So
Go ahead, Andrew.
sorry. So this is a repeat. We discussed this and approved it and actually signed it and sent it off to TxDOT for the phase 1 of their approval process and their signature. And they recognized a error, I guess, for lack of a better word. We put on the paperwork that their contribution to the grant fund was $21 million approximate. In reality, the total was 21. Their contribution and our 20%. So their contribution is the 18 million you see. So this is not an additional discussion item. This is a repair of improper discussion item from last month.
So there are some changes. Is that what you're trying to say?
We put on the original resolution that the state was going to give us $21 million and we were going to spend $4 million. It's 21 total, 18 and 4. 18 million from the state and 4 from us for a total grant project of $21 million. The way we wrote the resolution last time was they were going to give us $21 million and we were going to contribute $4 million. It should have been a total of 21 million. So we wrote the resolution wrong.
Andrew, is it 21 million or 23,601,000?
That's the right number. I can pull up the exact, the 23 sounds more accurate.
I believe that it's the total grant is for $23,601,086. Of that, the state is contributing $18,880,869, and the county is providing $4,722,17.
Yes.
But I think what we had documented was that we were receiving the 23,601 from the state when in fact it was the lesser of the 18,880,000.
That's right.
So I would make the motion that we approve the resolution, the revised resolution on CTIF money.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 34, discuss, take action authorizing Andrew Avis as alternate signature for CTIF reimbursement requests.
The program that we've done before with the CTIRs, the judge is the primary signature for reimbursement. When we get invoices in and it's processed through the auditor, then the auditor provides us with a request for reimbursement to TxDOT, and the judge is primary, and we're talking about seeing if we can get Andrew on there as an alternative. And that's what this is.
Should, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the resolution. On item number 4, instead of saying with Andrew Avis, should it say or? Because you're saying with, you're saying that you need 2 signatures. If you're saying or, You're saying it's going to be one or the other.
It should be or.
Thank you.
So with that correction, I make the motion that we approve the resolution to be submitted to TxDOT with either or Judge Johnson or Andrew Avis to be the signatories.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Item 35, discuss take action on proposed roadway construction project formal contract document.
So you should have a copy of that in your backup. So if you pull that, we can kind of very briefly go through it. But the background of it is, in the past, we've not utilized a executed document to compile all the different facets of the construction work on a particular project. So we had drawings and we had specifications and we had bid documents and we had bidder's instructions that required some things. And that, in a sense, was the de facto contract. But there wasn't truly a signed document associated with a particular contract and a contractor in the county to work against. It's further complicated slightly by some contractors required a PO to do the work. So that created discrepancy even in how we were managing project to project in the county. So I propose that we adopt this document to use on all construction projects that tie together the bidding process, the unit cost summaries, the construction documents, the specifications, and all our standards. So that all of them are the same, they're all managed the same, and we can track and account for consistently project to project. So when you open it, you'll notice the first several pages are instructions to bidders, which is just an adaptation of what we've used in the past with a little bit more clarity and detail. The first couple pages is very generic. It talks about timelines and dates and who to send stuff to. The first substantial change is on page 3. The submission of a bid must include spreadsheet. If everybody sees that, 13 items. Those 13 items are what we'll use to qualify the bid as complete and responsive, which is an important distinction in general, and then specifically when looking for the lowest bidder scenarios when the state's involved. For instance, CTIF. So CTIF projects have state money via the grant, requires lowest bidder. So how do you qualify that lowest bidder? This allows us to do that. If a bidder gives us all 13 line items, they're qualified. We've got a little bit of leeway on page 3 as well. You see the choice of evaluating the bids shall be based either on the lowest responsible bidder that I just described, or if it's not a state funded project or state helped project, we could choose to go with our best value process that we've used in the past. And continuing on, it's got some instructions for after award. Some things that we'll require in order to allow notice to proceed and begin construction. Again, just the parts and pieces of these types of items likely were gathered in the past, but probably not consistently. So this will give us a checklist of line items to make sure we have prior to releasing someone for construction. Bid affidavit form is the same form we've used in the past. And then you get to the actual contract. And what that page is saying, page 8, basically you don't sign the contract with a bid. It's just there for reference so they'll understand what they're getting into when they do supply a bid. And then the table of contents. Then there's the contract. we worked through a private attorney to help us draft this with Russell and myself and Commissioner Donnelly to get it to where we thought it was to a point that you guys could take a look at it. And this is what we've come up with. I don't want to go through all of it, but I would say there's a couple of points of interest. One, in one of the new requirements that we put into this contract is that all contracts will have a payment and performance bond, which boiled all down, it's going to cost us money. It's an additional cost on every project that we'll have to bear, but will provide us with coverage. And you're not supposed to use the word insurance and bonding in the same sentence, but sort of an insurance so that if things go sourly, we've got some action that we can take as a county to go make ourselves whole. Beyond the payment and performance bond, the other major point of discussion was schedule and timeline and potential of liquidated damages. I pushed for, and the version of this contract that you see in front of you today does not include liquidated damages. What it does include is our expectations of timeliness and schedule. And I don't know, maybe you noticed or not, one of the documents that we require upfront now that we haven't in the past is an actual schedule with a start date and a finish date and milestones in between so that we can track. And that gets tied back to this contract via paragraphs 5.12 and 3, basically saying time is important to us. The schedule that you provided is what we expect you to perform to. And if you don't, again, I felt as though going to liquidated damages was not the appropriate way to go. I think that opens up, it's a two-way street. And if we're going to have penalties of that magnitude, we can expect accountability from the contract, from the other side of the contract to us, that I don't think we are in a position or even want to go down. That being said, if you continue looking through here, there's lots of cures to poor performance built into this contract that are not liquidated damages. And we could go through some in detail, but basically it says we have the rights to start and stop and replace and supplement and up to and including the nuclear option of going to the bonding agent and saying, you need to replace these guys. So all that being said, yes, there's no liquidated damages, but there is schedule and performance accountability strongly built in to the contract.
Andrew, I do have a couple questions on page 19, item number 9, where it says warranty.
Yes.
Does this mean that after they are done, it says a period of 1 year from the moment they are done, if there's anything faulty, it says here that the company shall remedy any defects? Who decides?
1 year.
Right. So who decides what's a defect? For example, let's say there's a big pothole that shows up. Who decides if that was a defect or if it was just wear and tear within that year?
It's a defect.
Because it was supposed to last 5 years or?
Well, the design and the installation standards are in theory perfect for 1 year, right? If there's a pothole within a year, you assume that was not installed properly.
Okay.
Right? I mean, they left a soft spot in the subgrade, or they didn't channel the water properly, and a pothole appeared in 6 months. That's a warranty item within that year. You get outside that year, then that more complicated discussion you bring up becomes real. But inside of a year, it's their responsibility.
Another question that I have is, if there is a road that's built, it's been designed, and the contractor does not build it to where the design is, for example, let's say it's an inch higher than what it should have been, does that fall under this warranty, that they would have to go back and fix that situation?
No, that by not building it per the design, it's that's not a warranty issue as much as it is a execution issue.
Okay.
And again, lots of line items in this schedule or in this contract allow us to go enforce our design and our contract on the performer if it's not built properly.
And my last question.
That wouldn't be warranty. That would be a defect issue.
So it would be with it, but it's within the contract already under something else, right?
Yeah, building per the documents, grade, alignment, all that stuff. It's
Okay.
strongly covered in the document.
Perfect. My last question is, I know there's a lot of blanks in here that we're supposed to fill out after the bid is done and we get the contract going. Is this contract signed after the bid has been awarded, or is it during that first initial meeting that you're going to start having now to kind of get everybody on step of, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is where, tell me more or less, when is this going to be signed? Is it right after it's been given out, or is it going to be during that initial meeting? Like, I guess it's an initial construction meeting.
Right. So way back up in the bidder's instructions, basically we let out the bids, we evaluate for either the lowest responsible bidder or best value. We choose one or pick the one that fits that definition. It goes to court awards. After award, we collect several documents at that meeting, including a safety plan, a quality plan, quality material submittals, so the technical information, the schedule, and insurance and bond, and lastly, this contract. So it's to say it more briefly, post-award, we collect all documents required, including the executed contract, and then we start work. So the blanks that you're talking about will be filled in based on the award.
Right.
We won't have the, in my opinion, we don't have the authority to change anything at that point. And if we do, we'd have to go back to court. So it should be a very direct process of award, fill out the contract, we sign it, they sign it, or vice versa, actually. And then we release them for construction.
Okay, thank you.
So Andrew, I have a couple of questions. If do other entities, including TxDOT or the city and or private entities, are these contract standardizations that you're trying to get us to undergo typical use from other people?
Yeah, this is very much in line with the industry standard.
Okay.
And by industry, I'm talking government and public entity construction projects over, several $100,000.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. So Jones Brothers and the various groups we use, these are not contract terms that they're unused to. These are terms that they're used to dealing with. Is that correct?
Yes, and I've tried to loosely keep them informed of what I'm doing with this, and further, I think I would probably actually say these terms are probably a little looser than what they're used to.
Right. Okay, but that's good to know. So in general, since we're asking more of them, and they'll add this bid to their bid, are we talking about a percentage of extra money that's going to cost Midland County? Is it like a 1% or $5,000 or $100,000, or what are we talking about normally?
The payment and performance bond is typically, and we have some evidence of this through some research this past month, is typically 1%.
Okay.
So I think that's a guarantee. I think we're going to see a 1% increase for sure.
Right. And then Russell, are you familiar, have you dealt with any of these kind of contracts, or is this kind of new to you as well?
Well, not this exactly a contract like this, but in effect, this is really just taking what we've been doing and putting it all into one document with some additional language to strengthen it. So it's really not anything different than what we've been dealing with kind of in general, but in a much better format.
Right. And so you've reviewed this.
Yes, sir.
So very good. Good job to both of you and for bringing this up. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I'd like to make the motion that we adopt this bid and contract for roadway construction projects.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Thanks, sir. Item 36, discuss take action on changes to the current Midland County subdivision regulations.
Okay, so in part of this, we compared the existing subdivision regulation, road and street design and construction standards that developers and property owners use when applying for plats. Discrepancy is probably the wrong word. It was a little too vague. It didn't get into the details of main arteries and minor arteries and private roads and public roads and what our expectations were or had been recently been communicated that we're going to go build to. So for instance, to make the statement, any county road in the county that gets built by a developer has to be 11 inches of base and 3 inches of asphalt. And that's kind of been understood and stated and enforced and fine, but that level of clarity wasn't in the subdivision regulation. So that, amongst some other conversations with the city regarding regulatory documentation, particularly in the ETJ, has resulted in this agenda item. So a large part of what we're going to talk about briefly is specifically Article 3, road design and construction. And it's a wholesale replacement of what it was to a new version. And then there's a couple of minor adjustments to the regulation in general that I think are worthy of at least discussion. So short of pulling up the 30 some odd page regulation, I've created this short Word document that I believe you should have in your backup with about a dozen or 13 line items on it. It starts with the opening of the document, just needing a new date. So we'll have to create a new cover page, Russell, and put the new ratified date on there at some point. The definitions, they changed slightly in that it talked about a couple of different road types in the original definitions, and with the new Article 3, there's several road types to define. So the only true changes were adds to the different types of roads in those definitions. Let me get into the articles themselves. And this is one that it's not necessarily Article 3 roadway related, but it has been discussed in length with the city planning and zoning department, engineering department, and then subsequently with each of you on different occasions. I say that loosely. I believe I've talked to each of you about it, but one of the, in regulating plats, and the plat becomes kind of the central document of a piece of property in its definition. It's pretty simple if we're in the county and someone has 10 acres and wants to make 10 1-acre lots and build houses on it. We manage that pretty well through the years, it feels like. Where it gets more complicated is if that property owner is in the ETJ. In theory, our regulation does not apply to the ETJ. And so how to go manage our regulation and the city's regulation in the ETJ is come a long way in the last few months, and it will continue to evolve. And that's not a discussion point, in my opinion, at this point. But what is our ETJ, when our regulation, as it addresses the ETJ, says the city's going to take responsibility of the property in the plat. And then it says, unless, how does it say? Unless waived by the city, unless those responsibilities are waived by the city. I believe we've created a good dialogue with the city of Midland's planning and zoning and engineering to the point that that sentence doesn't apply anymore. They're going to take responsibility of the ETJ as they are inclined to in the state statute. I'm going to be involved in those plats, but they're not going to waive their responsibility. So in talking with Russell and again, through the city management and engineering department, we're going to strike, I propose we strike that out of our regulation. And here's why that's important. The whole point of the city having responsibility and authority in the ETJ is so that it's very specifically stated. The worst case scenario is there's county and city giving conflicting information to developers. And that's you do not want to do that. You can't do that. And so that sentence allows that to happen. It allows to have conflicting information from the city and the county. So in my opinion, we get rid of that completely so that we can define the two separately and cleanly.
So Russell, I have a generic question for you. In the past, it's been pretty murky, but in the future, so let's say a constituent calls me today and wants to do something, anything that's inside the ETJ but outside the city limits. I can essentially say that you will have to deal with the city, and if you need any help consulting with that, please contact Andrew Avis, and he will help you walk through some of that. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct. And really, that's the way it's been for a long time. But as Andrew said, it's kind of got a little murky over the last few years. But our interlocal agreement with the city does state, as required by law, that the law required us to state how it had to be done. And our agreement states that if it's in the ETJ, the city handles it. So yes, if they call you and it's in the ETJ, you can tell them to call the city and that the city will handle that.
Very good. That's a kind of a red letter date for clarity for me.
I've got 3 questions.
Okay.
The first question is on the contract. Does it take into account our future water projects?
No.
Okay.
I think this contract is unit price based. I doubt, other than roads, we get into another unit price. Let me rephrase. If I would think that any water work or any building work is typically going to be lump sum, and this contract doesn't work for that.
Okay, so that answers my second question. My third question is on the attachment item number 36C, C as in cat, the vacation application form.
Yes.
On the very top one, it says right-of-way vacation. Does that include, and Russell, step in if you want to answer this too. If somebody wants to vacate a road or abandon a road, will they have to fill this form out now? Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and this was a form that has been around a long time. I don't know if I'm not actually sure how often, if at all, it's been used, but that was the intent of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all I had.
The it's referenced in the regulation, this attachment, and Russell helped me find it. So if it's referenced in the regulation, I think it ought to go in there, that or strike the reference to it. But a vacation is a strange monster, and basically, normally a developer would grant us access easements, say, in a road that's in their property, and we may or may not take it in the system and maintain it, but either way, we're going to have access to that road. The vacation would take that away. The access easement, the right of way, would go away, and so rarely, if ever, I mean, I just can't imagine ever using it, but it's in the regulation. So
I've had to use it before. That's why I was asking.
And Commissioner, keep in mind, this is just for someone to make a request that the right of way be vacated. There's no requirement that the court grant that request.
Right.
It's just
so it would still have to come to.
Oh yes,
come to court for approval, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
The other thing is that this would actually record the request in the Commissioner's Court archive so that we could keep a duplicate, so that once we actually abandon it, then there's a record someplace of the abandonment that we've done. Because right now we have to go back through the Commissioner's Courts to find those places that we have granted the vacation of the right of way. So,
Okay.
Andrew, one of the things that I do want to make a little bit of a correction on your definition of ETJ. And I didn't think about it until sometime after our meeting the other day with the city. But when it says that area outside of, but adjacent to and contiguous to the corporate limits of any city recognized by state statute as the area that a city based on population could enforce its own regulations and rules upon, we should add as declared by the city. Because state regulations are 5 miles on the ETJ for us in the city, but they're only going to do 3 miles. So we need to make certain that the ETJ is not by state statute, but by adoption by the city.
Robin, is this on page 2, the very top? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
But we have that, the state says they can go out to 5 miles. The city
Right.
is only going to do 3 miles. So in certain areas, like the declaration of only 3 miles is what, so that there's no gray area in that 2 miles out there. The other thing is that like in our area between 1788 and Faudery Road, that is an agreed ETJ. And so I'm assuming that if we don't put something in there that says that as declared by the city, that there's a question of what is ETJ.
Commissioner, I think that's a great idea, because 5 years from now, we might have all forgotten about this. And I think having that in writing to clarify is a great idea.
Robin, I would go as far as asking that making sure that when we do that, we specify what the rules are for the city of Midland and then the city of Odessa. Because if the city of Odessa is also not going with the full 5, we need to make sure that it's somewhere in writing. This is more specifically, of course, for those that are in the west part of the county. But I know it's that city line is starting to move in more and more into Midland County. Some of us need to know where the city of Odessa stands as well.
Well, that's why I didn't want to specify what city. I just said as declared by the city. That was why I put it that way, because these things all change as they incorporate more and more of the city into the county controlled ETJ.
Great.
And
So the next one is,
wait, hang on, Russell, this may be unnecessary, but since the city standards in this case are normally less than the state standards, would we also add just one little clause in that says not to exceed state standards? In other words, if a city were to say we want 7 miles, we don't want to go by that.
Well, they can't exceed it, and the way we interpret it is that it is 5 miles, no question. But the way the city interprets it is they have to first make a determination of what their population is before it can increase to another level. The most it could go to is 5. So I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, fine.
Sure, good question.
Excuse me, Andrew, go ahead.
that's okay. So next, quickly, there's a redundant numbering system. So beyond that, it's 1.02, the second 1.02 is a sentence that it has to do with agreeing on regulations in the ETJ. And again, we understand now that we can't do that. We don't want to do that. And it's against the law to do that. There needs to be one defined regulatory effort, and it's the city in the ETJ. So to me, it's just striking that second 1.02. And again, that goes right along with everything that's been discussed here the last few minutes. Vacations, we talked about that, putting the appendix back into the document. No changes other than that. And Article 3, the big one, wholesale, remove Article 3 and replace with the new Article 3. And again, it's a detailed analysis of or standards for road construction by developers and homeowners and property owners in the county. And it meets and equals what we are holding our contracts to, the way we're designing and building roads. So it's very detailed, and plastic limits and compaction rates, and we can go over all that, but it's pretty straightforward underneath all the engineering. Article 4, driveways, no changes. Article 5, drainage, no changes. Article 6, permits. I want to add a paragraph, if you guys approve driveways and on-site sanitary sewer systems, septic tanks, must include a flood permit application. And it's just a redundant way to help us ensure we're getting all the documents we need when people develop their property. If you could continue before I expand on that, 6.06, a 911 supplied address would be required for all driveways and septic system permit applications. Again, understood and enacted and enforced today, but it's just not written that way anywhere. And I think that's the appropriate place to put it. And so basically, one of the major controls that we have over construction in the county is the floodplain permit. It's the closest thing we have to a building permit, and shy of introducing a building permitting system, which I am no way advocating for. And short of doing that, we need to enforce our floodplain permitting application, which is a study done on a piece of property to ensure that they're going to build outside of the floodway and within the rules and regulations of the floodplain. It protects the property owner, it protects the improvement, it protects the county. It's pretty straightforward. And the long and short of it is I get it, and I send it straight to our floodplain administrator, who is Matt Carr with the city of Midland, via an interlocal agreement. And he looks at it, and we've already done a couple this month. He looks at it and he sends it back with comments, and I forward it on to the developer, and they move forward. And so it's an important document that people don't really want to go do. This, tying it to these two things, which are things that people do want to go do, get driveways and get septics, tying it to that just ensures that I get a better chance of getting that document for each property that gets improved upon. No change on bonds. We don't really enforce the bonds, but it's there if we ever want to. Authorization, no changes. Article 9, lots. We've talked about in length in the past, the 1.5 acres minimum needed to get a septic, moving it to 1 acre. We just need to change the document, and I'll use this vehicle to get that done this month upon y'all's approval. Article 10 is water, and Louis, you asked a question about water. No changes now, but I'm fairly certain it's going to take a rewrite if we get to the point of an interlocal agreement with MCUD. This regulation won't cut it. It won't match. So at some point we may need to do that. 11, enforcement, no changes, and that's it.
And Andrew, you submitted all these changes in writing so that Allison will have a copy of it?
Yeah, this document she's got in the minutes, and the Article 3, the total replacement will definitely go that way. But Russell and I think if we adopt all these, Russell and I will basically alter the document in its original format and then submit the new whole document to Allison and the website.
Okay, in that case, I'll make the motion to approve the changes as recommended to be submitted formally at a later meeting.
That makes sense. Once we have it updated, bring it back.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Are we on item 36? I didn't mark it.
7,
That's right.
37.
Okay. Item 37, discuss review roadway design and construction for fiscal year 2021.
So this document is created after lots of discussions and analysis of budget and construction processes. And as we move into kind of seeing what we've done this year with a substantial road construction budget and moving that into next year, I wanted to create something that, one, showed you what we've done and what we're doing, to the effort of understanding how much money we have left in the budget, then how to transition to October 1 with a new budget year and what that might look like. I'll state very loudly that this is not a proposed budget or a proposed plan. It's just a scenario that shows how we would spend approximately $45 million, $46 million in 2021 on roads. This is a way it could look. Ultimately, which projects we do and when we do it are up to the court. But I wanted you to have a visual on what $46 million of road construction would look like starting October 1. And the beginning of that is we had a $50 million road and design budget in 2020. And we're going to be very close to spending all of that. And that gets a little complicated in that we briefly discussed when we were talking about the contract, the various ways that we're managing construction projects currently. In particular, some contracts or contractors require us to write a PO, which encumbers funds from the budget, and other contractors don't. And so we haven't. So we are simply feeding off the line item in the budget on a monthly basis. So understanding exactly how much is left is subjective. Yes, it's left, but you've also quasi committed some of that money to a contractor without a contract. So taking all that into consideration, we're going to have about $21 million spending after October 1 on current contracts. We just haven't finished yet. Just natural progression of contracts. They're going to bleed over to the calendar date because the contract doesn't care what the calendar says. So of the current budget year, about 20 million bucks is going to be on contracts that are already let out and already working. The general summary is if we were to encumber all the current contracts, we'd have about $6 million left in 2020's budget that we could go spend or start to spend between now and October 1st, before budget year 2021 takes over. And whatever that budget ends up being, 50, 30, 20, whatever we end up doing, 2021 takes over on October 1 with a new set of contracts. And so that change, that what's left in 2020 and how do we start in 2021 is really what I wanted this document to show. Some decisions to be made are, one, do we truly want to go encumber this year's funds and lock in the contracts that we've currently got out? Therefore, leaving us about $6 million to spend out of that budget year. Do we want to do that? My opinion is yes, but it just gives us control and finite information for the last quarter of the year. And then two, do we want to go spend that $6 million and how? Or do we just, softly roll into 2021 and continue what we're doing? And then ultimately, not today, how do we go, one, define a budget, and two, how do we want to go use it? And so this is just hopefully some information for you guys to see how it might be used and how much work we can do and what it might look like, and that just information.
Andrew, one of the things that you and I have talked about is that we've gotten the Clomer for the low water crossing on 1210.
Mhm.
Is that covered in this?
It's it's the third line item in the orange, in the middle section.
Oh, I see it. Well, we're ready to go to contract on that, aren't we?
Yes. There are a handful of projects that are at that point that we could elect to let them out and contract them immediately. We're ready on several.
Well, I would think that one would be necessary to be done right now.
I like the idea of it happening now because it potentially could fit in before we stop construction on 1210's current contract and then have to start again, you know, and everyone that's, you know, the constituents and the traveling public, you know, just to interject something and break it in between in the two things would just have a bad optic. If we could get it started and finished, maybe not finished at the same time, but at least started within the time frame so that construction is fluid, I think that would be a good thing.
The design for that Clomer is done, is what I'm assuming. The other question that a new question that I just came to my mind is, I know that we approved 12 a while back. Russell, do we need to go back and approve this Clomer, or is that included in the 1210 phase 1 and 2 projects that we did back in
it's
last year or whatever it was?
It's not in there.
Yeah, I don't know, Commissioner.
Would have to, but it's not in there. So you don't necessarily need to approve the letter. The letter is a federal document that we'll use as design, but we've got to go let it out and award it. And that you'll be looking at the letter, you'll be looking at the award, you'll be looking at the schedule. You'll have to approve all that.
So so I guess my question is, we've already approved for it to go out to design. All we need to do now is to let it go out for bid. Back, and then we just approve the bid. That's where we're at, correct? Awesome.
And again,
make sure I clarified that.
That's right. So when I generally said we have several projects in that status, specifically what I mean is you guys have said, go design it. I identified a need, go design it, Dunaway or whoever, typically Dunaway. Dunaway has designed it and done their quality control on their document and sent it to us and said it's ready for bid. We've got a handful of projects that are in that particular status right now.
Robin, in regards to the Clomer at 1232, is the plan to do the Clomer as 1232 is being built? Is that what we're going to try to do there?
That's the Clomer is just a clearance to build it. And so what we're waiting for is that clearance. These crossings of Monahan's Draw were not included in the bid for those two roads. Okay. So we're going to have to go ahead and bid those out. We're probably another 30 days away from getting the Clomer for 1232. So that probably will have to be pushed into next year, but it can be done before. We could probably bid that out before the construction is finished on 1232. So, but this one, I think we ought to go ahead and get. I mean, that would finish 1210.
Right. Okay. Works.
I mean, that's my feeling on the deal.
No, I agree. Right now, they're actually working on phase 1 of 1210. I drove out there last week, and they've already torn up the road, and I think they're starting to build up the caliche, and so they're doing the sub base right now. I bet they'll have about, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months would be my best guess for them to be done. But I like your thinking that if we go ahead and get phase 1 done and get that Clomer done all at once it's done, that whole road is completely done. We won't have to come back.
Go back and
it makes a lot of sense.
I just like to see it completed. And since they're working on it at this time, that area, you know, it would be a great time. It probably would take us about a month to 6 weeks to get that in, which would fit in completing the road at the same time.
Perfect.
Quick question for you, Andrew.
Yes.
The 46,550,000 that you have included there for the 2021 fiscal year, that includes CTIF funds?
That's total.
Total. Okay, thank you.
So we could, with the projects that have CTIF on the far left column, pluck those out, and that'd be, if I understood our conversation earlier right, that'd be its own line item, CTIF projects. And then the general infrastructure project or line item we're all familiar with wouldn't be the big number, it'd be a smaller number.
The difference between the CTIF and the 46 million?
Right.
Okay.
And it is all the projects that show here CTIF on the far left, like West County Road 127, 1150 Phase 2, so on and so forth?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Those are the ones that were on our application to the state.
Perfect. Thank you.
We don't have to use those, but those are the ones that were on the application.
Right.
One other thing to keep in mind, the 46.5, the way I came up with that is just generically the 50 million. About 7% of 50 million is in design. Historically, and I believe somewhat accurately, you can count on 7% going to design. So 3.5 million is I had it in a different line item. I've been told now that just accounting wise, it needs to be back in it. So, but just for understanding the budget, 3.5 million is design, 46.5 is construction.
That is correct, because the design is part of the cost of that road. We've got to put it in that capital outlay infrastructure.
Right. Won't be able to track them separately. They'll be together, which is fine. You can track them separately in New World, which is. So I don't know that I've got discuss and take action truly applies here. I mean, it's not an action item as much as it is information for you guys to ponder on and think about for the budget.
Well, Luis,
thank you.
Would you want to go ahead and try to release the low water crossing contract?
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Andrew about that. We were actually discussing that in some of these clusters that were approved back in October, and those are ready to go as well. What we're looking at is even anything that we do right now, it wouldn't be ready until September 14th anyway, which leaves you 2 weeks left in this fiscal year. So what we're trying to do, the $6 million that Andrew's talking about, we're trying to figure out how much we can actually budget to finish off this year, and whatever's left over, we would somehow roll it forward. And we've been talking to Veronica about that as well. So once all that stuff goes out for bid and those numbers come back, we'll have a clear idea, because all those are ready to go for bid. They've been ready for months now. But like Andrew suggested, you don't want to leave like 3 or 4 or 5 big projects at once. Let's look at 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. But I'll talk with Andrew. Yeah, I didn't think about the Clomer the way you talked about it just a while ago. I think it's a good idea for us to go ahead and do it now, so that entire project could just be done all at once and not finish, pause, wait another month, and here we go again. So
okay,
we'll talk about it for sure. We'll look at those numbers.
All right.
I have one more comment before you make a motion, if you're going to. The other attachment is a real simple Word document from Dunaway. It's got Dunaway's title up top. It's called the Roadway Status Update. What I want to make sure y'all understand what that is they are nearly designed out for everything we've released them to design. So we've got plenty of work and opportunity to not miss a beat at the turn of the fiscal year. And we got plenty of work and opportunity through the fiscal year. I think once you get into the next turn, October 2022, if we don't, and it's not a dire situation, but if we don't in the next month or 2 or 3, make some decisions on future projects to start design on, we'll catch up with our design team's efforts. So a lot of what we're going to build next year is already designed. If we continue choosing the ones that I think we'll choose as a court. But beyond that, we're catching up to what they've got designed. So something to consider. You can look at this document and see what they've touched and what they aren't touched. If it's not on that list, they haven't been told to work on it. And so if you've got an idea of a project and it's not on that list, step one is let's get it on the agenda to get Dunaway working on it. And just know that at some point in the next 12 to 14 months, 16 months, we'll probably run out of design, which is fine. We just need to be thinking about what they need to go do next.
Is there any way that these designs have a useful life? I mean, if they sit on the shelf for a year, 2 years, could the design have to change in between that period of time?
I don't think in that amount of time, I would think that would be an issue. Definitely not on a technical level, maybe on a political or land ownership level, maybe. But technically, I would suspect it's good for as long as code doesn't change, which, should be, I can't imagine that happening without us being very aware of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more comments? The way this was listed, it's discuss and review, that there wasn't an action item to the agenda item. So if everybody's done there, I can move on. Karen would like to recall item 17, acknowledge summary of all collections for June 2020. Karen, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to, and I sent you all an email as well, but I went to look at the breakdown of what highway fees entail. And some of those have to do with delinquent fees, but they're delinquent transfers, duplicate receipts, walk-in fees, processing and handling fees, replacement fees, and transfer fees. And I don't know if you all are aware that from the governor as well as from DMV, we are still in a period of waiver as far as penalties and other things are concerned. And until DMV says, okay, we're done, and then there's another 60 days on that, that we won't be able to be collecting these delinquent penalty fees and all. So
Thanks
I just
for
wanted
sharing
to,
that.
yes, I just wanted to clarify that, and I'm sorry, I knew it consisted of several different fees, and I didn't want to give you the wrong information until I looked at it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. The reason I was asking that question is because it was a 40% drop from last year. It was a massive number. So now that you talked about that the governor says that we're still in that waiver period, it makes sense why we're not receiving those funds. So I appreciate you clarifying that.
We are, and the DMV hasn't indicated that they were going to lift that waiver at any time soon. And even as I said, after they lift it, it will be an additional 60 days that people will have that waiver. So I just wanted to share that with you so you would know.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Judge, as long as we're recalling items real quick, could we recall item 32?
Okay. Hang on. Item number 32, discuss take action moving free mulch from Ranchland Country Club to Horseshoe.
Okay, I got some information on it. What it is actually they removed a bunch of elm trees at Ranchland Country Club and chopped and chipped them up, and they made elm mulch. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Is there any other concerns? Can we move forward with that?
Were they just chopped down just because they were just chopped them down, or was it because they had something in the trees?
No, an elm tree is only about 40 year. Elm tree is only about a 40-year-old tree, 40-year lifespan. Those elm trees out of Ranchland have been there probably for 40, 50, 60 years. Basically, they're just dying because they're old. And so they had to remove
That's
them
fair.
and they chopped them up and made mulch.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I just wanted to make sure that it didn't have some type of a disease or something. You know what I'm saying? Then we put mulch out and then it gets on our trees and on our vegetation. That was the only concern I had, man. But if it's old trees that were mulched, I'm good with it. That'll work. Thanks for clarifying.
So Russell, do we need to redo the motion on this?
No, I think we're fine with the
Okay,
motion. that's
great.
made.
So, just want to give you all that information. Thanks.
All right, item 38. Let's take action on purchase of right-of-way at the corner of 60 and State Highway 158 to support the City of Midland's project to extend Briarwood to State Highway 158 and improve this intersection.
This is in my precinct, and there are several projects that are being done in conjunction with TxDOT, the city, and the county. And Robin is involved with this whole area. He has made the suggestion that the county pick up some right-of-way at this one intersection. And Robin, you might discuss further how this will help us in the overall picture that you have of the other intersections and what we might intend to do with this right-of-way once we've acquired it.
The right-of-way that we're talking about is a little corner piece at on the west side of County Road 158. I mean, on State Highway 158. Sorry, Russell, you kind of threw me there. It is adjacent to County Road 60. It's the part of the Bynum School, and the negotiations with TxDOT on improving the connection of Briarwood to County Road 60 entails putting some acceleration, deceleration lanes out in that area. And the city is in one of those situations that they acquired additional right-of-way on Briarwood north of that in that Ranch Estates area. And they need this little corner to make the intersection work. And when I talked to them, they are pretty far down on their right-of-way dollars. So what I was suggesting to Randy is that we support the city in their in this intersection, because it's a major intersection that goes to County Road 60, and it is in the county, and it would do well for us to support the city in this project.
And Robin, we have some money left over in this account, the right-of-way account that you've been using, and this would come out of that right-of-way account that currently exists.
That's correct. We completed our acquisition of right-of-way on Yukon, and that is going to be about somewhere around $400,000, and that'll leave us sufficient funds to acquire this acreage or this right-of-way in this area. So I think it would be beneficial for us to do this, and we have the money.
And Andrew, do you have anything else about this subject?
I think that covers it. That's the important, in my mind, what I like about it is the collaboration with the city and joining hands on a project. Every time we have the opportunity to do that, it opens up doors in the future. So.
Any other discussion from either Luis or Scott?
No, I hope that makes that intersection a lot safer, because that's one scary intersection.
Well, I will say this, that has been my number one death trap, danger intersection for the whole 20 years I've been in the court. And I'm so pleased that everybody's working together now to get this done. And it will become a much safer intersection. That's been a real hard intersection if you've ever tried to go through there at a busy time of the day. And so I will make the motion that we approve the purchase of this right-of-way as listed on this plat for approximately $125,000 to come out of our existing right-of-way funds.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Item 39, discuss take action on design stage of County Road 1130 from I-20 to Farm to Market 307.
Yes, I wanted to put this on so that we could look at a 4-lane road, because this comes off of Loop 250 at Interstate 20 and dumps, goes from about a 60-mile-an-hour 4-lane divided highway and dumps onto our County Road 1130, which is a 2-lane ancient. This thing was built in the 1970s and hasn't been improved much. We did improve the intersection at 307, but we haven't done anything further on that. We do have the right of way to expand this, but I would like to look at the design and authorize Dunaway to look at a design of this so that we can improve this in the future if it is feasible.
Commissioner, you're trying to start just from I-20 or from Highway 80?
No, just from, well, highway, where the interstate comes off, or right there at the interstate is where I was looking at. Because it's, if you look at the, where the stop signs are, the 4-way stop under the interstate is,
right.
That would be the starting point of the project to 307. So that's really the area that it's about a mile, and but it takes some turns, and we've got the right of way to do it. We just haven't ever looked at it in depth to try to design it. Any other questions? Well, I would make the motion that we add County Road 1130 from I-20 to FM 307 to design.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Is this not anything real quick that can, say, be in next year's budget? It'll be in the following year? Is that?
Yes, sir. It'd be in the following year. It's just an authorization to commence design.
Okay, item number 40, take action on submitted applications for permits to use the county right-of-way for utility and line installations, driveway construction, and mailbox construction.
The only permits we had this morning was for Robin. Robin, did you see those?
Yes.
Receive those?
I have seven permits. There are 2 from Carrasco Homes that the attachments weren't added to, but I'd like to include those 7 to be approved by the court.
Making that a motion, Robin?
Yes.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Item 41 is conduct executive session pursuant to Texas Code Section 551.074 to discuss personnel matters. It is 11:59. I would recommend we take a 10-minute break so everybody can figure out how to get on this, and we will be back at 12:10.
I'm going to ask everyone to leave or mute, and then I'm going to share a screen that says executive session. Please stand by. And then when y'all are finished, y'all can rejoin the meeting. Okay?
Jenny, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. How will we know when to get back on?
Well, you can watch it live stream or just hang out here and mute because they're all off except for Luis. But he is muted, so that's fine.
Well, I
They're
didn't,
off.
well, I didn't expect we could listen to executive session.
No, it won't. It's going to be handled telephonically.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. So we could just kind of mute and hang out here.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thanks.
At least the seats are better here.
Now we are still live, okay?
think again, I think. Okay, all right, I'll just make sure.
Hey, Randy.
Yep, I can see you. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. I can indeed.
Good.
I appreciate you calling me. That
Yes,
was awkward. I didn't,
We're back in.
no problem.
all of these bits and pieces moving around. Hey, guess who's here?
I tried. Okay. It is 12:46 and this meeting is back open. Is there any?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. It is 12:47. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.